Resident Alien is a science fiction comedy show starring Alan Tudyk and created by Chris Sheridan, based on the Dark Horse comic book series of the same name by Peter Hogan and Steve Parkhouse. Alan Tudyk is probably best known for his role in Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, Firefly, and Steve the Pirate in Dodgeball. Seriously, who doesn't love Steve the Pirate? Welcome back to Storyrant. I'm your host, Eric Malikyte, and today we're talking about, well, Resident Alien. And, hoping that it doesn't get canceled. Resident Alien, for those of you who don't know, follows an alien who's crash landed on Earth and is forced to blend in with human society. We follow this alien, who takes the form of a man named Dr. Harry Vanderspiegel, a very bad man that was just asking to be murdered while sitting alone in his cabin one night. Most of the comedy is in the form of wacky hijinks as Harry, the alien, attempts to blend into the population of Patience, Colorado, so he can find the missing pieces of his device, complete his mission, repair his ship, and most importantly, go home. And that mission? He's here to destroy all of humanity. Seriously, if you can't tell by my tone, I'm a big fan of this show. It's generally well written, and Alan and the supporting cast are all great. There's a very good reason why it made it into the top 10 when it dropped on Netflix. Seriously, when you're done with this video, go watch it. You won't be disappointed. And I'll be doing my best not to spoil things for you too, so don't you dare turn away. But as of writing this, Resident Alien is in danger of being canceled by Syfy. Another casualty, you might say, right alongside Sliders and Farscape. And Lex. And probably a bunch more. Side note, I'm still fucking irritated that Syfy changed its logo and name to that fucking abomination. Why? Why would you do this? Why? It makes no sense. You had a perfectly good Saturn logo before. Anyway, I digress. The reason for this potential cancellation has, as far as I can tell, everything to do with ratings and bad timing in regard to a certain writer's strike that recently got resolved. Oh, and probably Syfy wanting to save a mint on production costs. Season 1 started off with strong ratings, but when it came time for Season 2 to start airing, those ratings steadily fell off. It also probably didn't help that Season 2 was 6 episodes longer, with 8 episodes airing weekly from January 26th through March 16th, 2022, and the second set airing from August 10th to September 28th of the same year. The ratings for Season 2 started off pretty strong, looking pretty damn similar to Season 1. The premiere being the highest with 1.36 million viewers, and the lowest being the episode titled Family Day in the first half of Season 2, if I'm not mistaken, which only had about 900,000 viewers. That's still not bad though. It's only when the show came back later that year that ratings really dropped, sometimes as low as like 400,000 people. And this trend of falling viewership continued into Season 3. But this was also after a lengthy delay caused by the 2023 writer's strike. At this time, the writer's strike is over, but the effects of it are going to be felt for probably years. As I mentioned earlier, Resident Alien has done very well with audiences since it dropped on Netflix, and not just with science fiction fans. Alan Tudyk has mentioned that he's had many people who would never be caught dead watching a science fiction show tell him that they love Resident Alien. It's like their guilty pleasure. It's very rare to have a show that is able to reach across genre lines like that, and it's pretty clear that this show has staying power. And on rewatch, it's easy to see why. It's great. Syfy would be seriously stupid to cancel this show right now. To quote Harry, this would be some bullshit. Especially since Season 3 is where it's really found its footing. The writing is stronger than ever, expertly balancing comedy and horror. Comedy and horror are great bedfellows, as the authors behind my favorite tabletop RPG of all time, Call of Cthulhu, wrote in the Keeper's Rulebook. But as that same book cautions, while they play well off each other, they have to be well balanced. Horror stories benefit from a bit of levity, and the reverse is true as well. It's often difficult to strike a good balance in any story, but this show managed to excel at it. The show is hilarious. Alan Tudyk has always been a favorite in this house, and my wife and I go out of our way to watch most of the things he's in. Hell, the very first Tinder conversation that my wife and I had was a quote from Serenity. You know the one. I'm a leaf on the wind. Watch how I ... And her response was a bow and arrow, and we've been together ever since. At one point, Harry goes to war with a small boy, calling him a shit pocket, stealing his candy, and often threatening to kill him.
The answer's simple. It's nighttime. I'll just break into that kid's house and kill him.
Sometimes also trying to murder him by cutting his bike's brakes. Yeah, the show's weird and I love it. Harry also has to pose as the town doctor when the old one is mysteriously killed, causing him to have to learn more about how to blend with humans. His terrible bedside manner, his attempts to date, and his obsession with law and order. Yeah, you heard that right. Pie and oatmeal, milk. There is one particular scene where Harry tries to suckle milk from a cow's teat in his alien form that had me absolutely dying.
Hello again, Mrs. Cow.
And pizza all lead to some amazing running gags, where he'll solve a murder, or so we think, and end with kung kung. No lie, sometimes I'll just yell kung kung through the house and wait for my wife to react. Sometimes it's really just for me, because it's cathartic. I don't know. The show's also a drama. As Harry continues to search for the missing pieces of his device he needs to finally kill us all, he's forced to befriend the humans around him. And as he is socialized, the human body he's chosen to mimic forces him to feel human emotions. And this in turn causes him to act very childlike, because he can't really control those emotions yet. He grows quite fond of one or two of these people, even if he doesn't want to admit it himself. So it creates an interesting emotional conflict within him that makes him all the more fun to watch, honestly. Honestly, it reminds me of the very best aspects of Parks and Rec, one of my favorite mockumentary shows. How the show gets you to care about each of its characters and sets up its drama and gags is kind of similar. Like Star Trek TNG and so many other hits, it usually takes time for a show to find its footing. TNG was notoriously bad until Season 3 rolled around. That's why I always start with the latter half of Season 2 when I do a rewatch. And while I definitely say that Season 3 is the best Resident Alien has to offer so far, the show's been consistently good since the beginning. I could probably keep this video pretty short, end it with a call to action, and tell you to go watch the show, right? See you, Space Cowboy, that sort of thing. But there's a lot more to this show than a simple comedy. This show has a message, and it's one that I find increasingly relevant in regard to humanity's future here on this planet. If you've never heard the term syfy, you're probably not alone. It's a type of science fiction mostly relegated to more prestigious science fiction and fantasy magazines, and as you can imagine, it deals with how humans might handle the consequences of climate change. I've read some beautiful and bleak climate fiction in my day, and I've even written some myself, but it might surprise you to find out that Resident Alien falls into that category as well. You see, our not-so-friendly alien who just goes by Harry because stupid humans can't speak his language, though his nickname is... Yeah, I see why they call him Harry. He's not even here to destroy the planet. No, it's just the jerk-face polluting humans he's worried about, because we suck. In Season 1, when Harry's identity is finally unmasked by one of the other main characters, I won't tell you which, he tells them that his species has been coming to this planet for many thousands of years, helping to guide humanity. But something changed in our species a couple thousand years ago, and we became massive dickheads. Humans are killing the planet, and Harry wants to save the bison. His people might not have human emotions, but they care deeply for the earth, nature, and its animals. And the thing is, as much as we grow to love the characters around Harry, we kind of suspect that humanity as a whole deserves to be wiped out. Anytime Harry brings up wanting to save the planet or the bison, the point is brushed aside by the human characters. It's actually pretty realistic. Even the best of us are often so focused on our individual problems and lives that we think our actions don't affect our local ecosystems, our cities, our states, our countries, our planet. Or the topic just brings on the existential dread and we sit in the dark gently rocking ourselves, chugging a bottle of Evan Williams until sweet oblivion takes us back to sleep so we don't have to think about it anymore. And the show handles these heavy, contentious topics without going out of its way to wag the finger at humans. Well, at least not when it comes to climate change as a theme and narrative device. The way this show balances tone and mood is quite good at times, sometimes even masterful. The show will set up a gag, pay it off, and as you're laughing, it'll transition to this beautiful scene where Harry communes with a bison in the middle of the forest, hammering home the show's environmental message without having to beat you over the head with an engorged macaque. It's great, and clearly the best show Syfy has produced or aired in a very long time. Also, the show has Linda Hamilton in it. Okay. Now that I've said my piece, you might be thinking, why should I watch the show if they're just gonna cancel it? Why should I get invested? And I'll say, it's not canceled. Not yet. Syfy, USA, Netflix, and whoever the hell else are interested in potentially either renewing or picking the show up are likely waiting to see what they'll get out of letting it continue. A move to USA Network would likely see a dramatic reduction in budget, which could be a good or a bad thing depending on what gets cut. But a move to Netflix might also cut off foreign viewers who are a big part of the show's audience. And that's where you come in. Showing all of these entities that you give a shit about this show is going to help. They read all of the comments on articles, Facebook pages, YouTube videos, and so on. Also, as people on the official Resident Alien fan page on Facebook have said, watching the show is probably the best way you can show your support. Some fans have gone as far as to having it running at all times. Season 3 ended on a cliffhanger that had me yelling, "This is some bullshit." It's very rare that a show with such heavy themes is able to reach across genre lines, and probably even rarer that it resonates with so many people. Let's not have a repeat of Firefly, or Sliders, or any of the others. Anyway, if you dug this video, be sure to do all that algorithmic jazz to tell the YouTube algorithm that I'm not a jerk-faced human and deserve all the clicks and impressions, right? And while you're at it, watch this video on why the Alien movies got progressively worse after the second one. It's probably not for the reason you think it is. And while you're at it again, why don't you click my links in the description? There's a free sci-fi horror book in there for you. You're welcome. I'm Eric Malikyte, and I'll see you next time, Space Cowboys.